So the latest growth figures are now out, which are much to the delight of the guest who we have this evening. Good evening. The Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Krishnamurthy Subramaniam, is with us. Mr. Subramaniam, what does this indicate, these figures?
Sanket, with the second quarter of a growth of 8.4% on the back of 20.1% in the first quarter this year, and 2 quarters of growth in the third and fourth quarters at 0.4% and 1.6%. Now India has had 4 consecutive quarters of growth, which is quite noteworthy. You know, one of the few economies that has recorded 4 consecutive quarters of growth amidst a once-in-a-century pandemic. What this also indicates is that because we had positive growth in the third and fourth quarters, from here on, from the second quarter onwards, we can consistently start seeing GDP above pre-pandemic levels. You know, we must keep in mind also that just because of base effects, we shouldn't take this, performance to be not noteworthy, because if these base effects were indeed believed in, the prediction that we had made for the V-shaped recovery in GDP growth last year, September 2020, a priori, should have actually been believed in by most. So to actually conveniently pick a priori and a posteriori, then say that, oh, this is expected, I think would be inconsistent. That's something that we must avoid for a balanced assessment.
Mr. Subramanian, the all-important question which I want to ask you right now is that this, you say, gives you a sense of how we are back on our growth story, and we should not look too much on the base effect. But the point is, there is another deadly variant, or at least a difficult variant, which is a variant of concern. And we saw what the previous variant did and its impact on economy. Is that a factor which weighs on your mind before you predict the economic future?
Of course, even when we predicted the growth last year, around February of last year, we had actually kept in mind the fact that we were still amidst the pandemic. I must correct Sanket that the second wave, India managed it quite well on the economic side. That trade-off between lives and livelihoods, we actually kept restrictions at the state level. As a result, the first quarter growth was 20.1%, despite the very, very intense second wave. As for this variant, I think it's too early for us to either panic or at the same time be complacent. We, I think, have to be balanced because evidence is still evolving. This variant has been there only for a few weeks. Even in the advanced economies, this has not been analyzed enough to know whether or not it will be more virulent than the than the Delta variant, and what about the intensity in terms of sort of hospitalizations, etc. So I think that evidence remains to be seen. That said, we should continue to sort of be cautious. And I think the important learnings that we've had on the economic side in the second wave will come very handy. Also, the fact that vaccination has proceeded excellently. Now we've done 120 crore doses, almost for 3.5 to 4 times that of the United States population. And while there'll be some change, some difference between the immunity for the Delta versus this variant, I think overall the average immunity that vaccination provides will continue to be there. That's what at least epidemiologists are suggesting. But I think we'll have to wait and watch on the evidence from and the research in this area in the next few weeks.
I now wanted to ask you something which has been a subject matter of discussion vis-a-vis economy. Right from the very beginning of this pandemic, when the deadly virus came in and the lockdowns came into effect, and it dealt a body blow to the economy. We were discussing about fixing supply or carrying out a supply side management, which is one arm of the economy. But a lot was spoken and said about demand. Are you confident that the country has been able to manage this equilibrium? Because you may fix the supply, but if there is no demand, then really doesn't matter.
Sanket, I think we have to be balanced in our assessments here. I think one-sided assessments do not help, the narrative overall. Clearly, if you look at the GDP numbers, at the GST numbers, first of all, 1.31 lakh crore, and GST is a consumption-based tax. So clearly, you have to be, taking that into account, in imposing your questions as well. Consumption actually comes from demand, and I think now not only the government but several commentators are clearly conceding that India has been these singular positive in terms of very prudent management of both the demand and supply side. I will contrast with the shambolic performance that we had following the global financial crisis, when we had the triple whammy of very high current account deficit, very high inflation, double-digit inflation, for almost 18 months every month, and a very high fiscal deficit, 2.5 times at our peer economies, because we only did demand-side measures then. In contrast, now we've actually done both demand very prudently, taking into account the fact that we had limited fiscal space, and also had the foresight to work on supply side measures. And that is why inflation is at 4.5% less than 5%, in control. And also, if you contrast with the rest of the economies, look at the emerging economies, Turkey, Brazil, Mexico, etc. Double-digit inflation, Turkey, touching close to 20%. That illustrates, if we had only done demand side measures without supply side measures, this kind of a recovery with very strong macro fundamentals, inflation in control, current account is comfortable, and fiscal deficit less than that of peer economies, three most important parameters. So we've had very nice bounce back in growth with strong macro fundamentals, I think, which clearly illustrates how prudent policy has actually helped in this, and how we've been different both from the rest of the world now and compared to the very bad performance following the global financial crisis.
Okay, Mr. Subramaniam, I wanted to ask you, what are the sectors in your assessment that have done phenomenally well to contribute to this recovery story, and which are the key sectors that you're monitoring, or that have not recovered as much as you wanted to?
So as I covered in my press briefing as well, Sanket, I think the manufacturing sector has actually was doing very well even pre-pandemic. I showed a very wide range of data that compared to even China over the 2015 to 19 period, we've actually had higher annual growth, average annual growth compared to China. And after a temporary blip during the pandemic, it has again started growing very strongly. If you see the purchasing managers index for manufacturing that has come, it is actually at has grown since October at almost 57, and almost a 10-month high. And I think the commentary that the IHS market has given is also very, very optimistic. That's on the manufacturing side. On services, I think 2 quarters now we've had double-digit growth, which is good. But there's actually, I think, significant space still for services to recover, because it has still not attained pre-pandemic levels. Going forward, as vaccination has proceeded, and as we continue to push forward on 2 doses for large sections of the population, I will think that the service sector recovery should continue. Of course, we have to watch the new variant that is coming in, whether that will impact the service sector. But I think it is important, if the momentum in services continues, that will generate consumption in other sectors as well. So consumption in other sectors and production in services will help GDP growth in future quarters as well. So I think overall, we have to watch and manage the new variant, both on the health side and the economy side, so that the benefit that we've gotten from vaccination, and which is showing up in the service sector, that momentum is continued.
Mr. Subramaniam, I was meaning to ask you this question as the chief economic advisor. What's your view on cryptocurrencies? We know that the government is about to bring a law, but what's your assessment? Do you think that there is a huge case that you can't wish away a modern technology? This is blockchain technology, far more transparent. But what has your assessment been?
I think on this, the Honorable Finance Minister has already expressed her views. But let me conceptually state that we have to make a distinction between the benefits that come from blockchain for the real economy and cryptocurrency that actually uses blockchain. I think, in general, any financial innovation that ends up being a zero-sum game does not benefit the real sector that much is something that has to be treaded on very cautiously. And we have to make a distinction between cryptocurrency as a currency versus as an asset as well, keeping in mind, even, from an asset perspective, unlike an asset like gold or some of the other assets, the volatility is much larger. And I think these are aspects that must be conceptually kept in mind when we think about regulation in this important sector.
My final question, do you, this was asked in the parliament also, are you of the view that this is a technology that must be regulated or a technology that must be banned, or much more thought needs to go into it?
So as I mentioned, Sanket, I think it's important to keep in mind that the technology underlying it actually is blockchain, which has enormous applications on the real sector. And blockchains are being, used, in the real economy, even without cryptocurrency itself in many countries, and the potential for that is enormous. So the technology is of blockchain, and it is not necessary to associate it with cryptocurrency because, when you look at cryptocurrency as a financial innovation, it is important to keep in mind that, zero-sum games. Let me just give you an example. If you and I, let's say, sit, all day today and play cards, our money will change hands, in a zero-sum form, but we may not have actually done any real activity. So I think that aspect of a zero-sum game is also something that has to be kept in mind. And nuanced distinction between, this aspect as an asset and that as a currency also have to be, has to be kept in mind when we think about, this sector.
All right. Chief Economic Advisor, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
My pleasure.